I stood outside room 217 at exactly 6:45 p.m. My hand was clenched around the velvet box I had picked up from the jeweler just an hour earlier. Inside was the necklace her mother left behind when she passed. I had been saving it for this day. 50 years married. A lifetime. I imagined the way her eyes would light up when she saw it. I imagined the tears. But all I heard were hers. Through the cheap plywood door of the motel. Her moans. I stood there frozen. My name's Robert. I'm 72 years old. Retired aircraft engineer. 2 kids. 5 grandkids. I've had 2 hip replacements, a pacemaker, and enough memories to last 3 lifetimes. But nothing prepared me for the sound of my wife crying out another man's name. I didn't kick the door in. I didn't shout. I didn't even breathe. I listened. Longer than I should have. Every sound stabbed deeper than the last. It wasn't just sex. It was passion. Familiarity. A rhythm they'd done before. Many times. I walked back to the car. Placed the box on the passenger seat. Sat in silence for 10 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel angry. I felt switched off. The engine turned over on the first try. Some things, at least, were reliable. Unlike her. I drove home in silence. She wouldn't be back until after 10. She had told me she was having dinner with old friends from her book club. She never liked books. I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon. Sat in my chair. Stared at the necklace. And I planned. See, here's the thing most people don't understand. When you get betrayed at 25, you feel rage. Fire. You want to destroy. When you get betrayed at 72, after a lifetime of shared birthdays, funerals, holidays, long drives, and short silences, you feel cold. Surgical. You don't want to scream. You want to undo. Undo her comfort. Undo her pride. Undo her peace. I wasn't going to let her walk out and into his arms like she won something. No. She was going to lose everything. But she wouldn't even know it was me. Not at first. I spent the next hour making a list. Names. Places. Passwords. I still had access to all of it. She never changed a damn thing. At 8:12, she texted. Hey hun. Still out with the girls. Gonna be late. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at it for a full minute. Then I replied. Love you too. Can't wait to hear all about it. I smiled. First time that day. Because now it was real. This wasn't going to be a divorce. This was going to be a performance. And she was about to become the star of a show she didn't even know was happening. The next morning, I went out early. Had breakfast at Charlie's Diner. Bacon, eggs, hash browns. The waitress, Denise, called me sweetheart like she always did. I left a big tip. Then I drove downtown. To a little office above a closed-down video rental store. There was a bell on the door and a smell of burnt coffee inside. He looked up when I walked in. Bald, scar across his cheek. Robert, he said. I nodded. Still do private work? He smirked. For you? Always. His name's Lou, used to be a PI. Worked undercover for insurance companies in the 80s. Retired now. Sort of. I gave him her photo. I need everything, I said. She cheating? Yes. You want proof? No, I said. I want a foundation. He raised an eyebrow. A foundation? For what I'm about to build. He didn't ask questions after that. And that's why I trusted him. The thing about building a trap is you never rush it. You set the bait. You test the wire. You wait. That next morning, I didn't rush. I sat on the porch with my coffee like I always did. Let the wind hit my face. Let the sun warm my knees. Then I went inside, opened the old cedar chest in the bedroom closet, and pulled out the leather-bound notebook I hadn't touched in years. I wrote down her schedule from memory. Monday, a yoga at 10, grocery store at noon, then lunch with Beth. Tuesday, a volunteer at the animal shelter. Wednesday, a Pilates, then manicure, then wine night with the girls. The girls. One of whom she was probably lying to. Or maybe all of them. It didn't matter. I wasn't tracking them. I was tracking her. Lou called me 3 days later. She's got a routine, he said. I know, I said. But she's also got a rhythm. Go on. She meets him on Wednesdays. Usually between 2 and 4. Same place. Same motel. I closed my eyes. Any names? License plate traced back to a guy named Michael Alton. That ring any bells? I opened my eyes. Michael. Oh, it rang all right. It screamed. Michael Alton had been my best friend for 45 years. We'd gone fishing together, barbecued together, sat through funerals side by side. He was even the best man at my wedding. He gave a speech about how love was sacred and strong. That bastard. Do you want photos? Lou asked. No. You sure? I don't need to see him doing what he's doing. I need to see where he works, where he banks, who he talks to. I want patterns. And I want them clean. There was a pause. Then a quiet chuckle. You serious? Dead serious. All right, he said. I'll start mapping his movements. You'll have a full file by next Friday. I hung up and went into the garage. Pulled out an old corkboard and started pinning things up. Names. Places. Times. I wasn't building a case. I was building a blueprint. That night, she came home late again. Said they watched a long movie. I asked what movie. She said some rom-com with Jennifer Lopez. I nodded. Said, sounds nice. She kissed me on the cheek and went to shower. I sat in the living room, watching her wine glass still half full. Red. Expensive. She never drank that brand before. I bought it for our anniversary. She took it without blinking. The next week passed like clockwork. Every lie, every giggle, every smile, all logged, all time-stamped. Lou delivered. Photos, receipts, surveillance notes. Michael was divorced, living alone, working as a consultant for small law firms. Nothing flashy. But enough to hurt him with. I studied his life like an exam. Found his weak spots. He had a daughter, my goddaughter, named Tracy. Recently graduated from nursing school. I remembered holding her when she was born. I remembered changing her diaper when Michael passed out drunk during her christening. I also found out she had just taken a job at a private clinic downtown. A clinic with very strict hiring policies. Policies that wouldn't look kindly on the things I was about to expose. But not yet. Patience. One Thursday morning, my wife forgot her phone on the kitchen counter. She never forgot anything before. But now. She was distracted. Obsessed. Sloppy. I opened it. No password. I guess after 50 years she still believed I wouldn't look. She had no idea who I'd become. I scrolled. Text after text with hearts. Inside jokes. Photos. One of them in bed together, half covered. She captioned it. "Wish I could stay forever." He replied. "One day, baby. One day." One day? Not if I could help it. I took a screenshot. Saved it to my own phone. Not for leverage. Just to remember. To remember what betrayal looked like in pixels. It didn't even hurt anymore. It felt like numbers. Data. Just part of the machine I was building. That night, she cooked lasagna. Said she missed cooking for me. Said I looked tired. I smiled. Told her she was beautiful. Then I excused myself, went to the garage, and emailed Trace's clinic. I posed as a concerned citizen. Attached screenshots, a few bank statements I'd quietly pulled from Michael's online banking. He used the same password for everything, idiot. I wrote, "This man has a history of unethical financial activity. I'm worried about his daughter representing your clinic." I didn't hit send. Not yet. But it was ready. Just like everything else. I waited a full week before taking the next step. People think revenge is about impulse. Anger. Heat. But the best kind of revenge? It's cold. Precise. You don't rush into it. You build it like a house. Brick by brick. And you don't live in it until the roof is finished. On Tuesday, she mentioned she'd be out of town on Saturday. Girls' trip, she called it. Said they were going upstate for wine tasting and hiking. I nodded, like the idiot husband I used to be. Saturday morning, I packed a cooler, filled the truck with gas, and drove 2 hours south. I knew exactly where she'd be. Lou had tracked their plans, overheard a call she thought was private. They weren't going north. They were going to a cabin near Lake Edgewood. Just the two of them. Romantic little spot. He'd rented it under a fake name. John Temple. Cute. I parked down the road and hiked in on foot. I didn't want to be seen. The woods were quiet. Pine needles under my boots. I moved slow. Deliberate. Around 4 p.m., I saw the cabin through the trees. Small, old, with smoke curling from the chimney. I stayed low. My binoculars gave me a clear view through the front window. There she was. Laughing. Pouring wine. He kissed her neck while she stirred something on the stove. I watched for 20 minutes. Just long enough to memorize the rhythm. Then I turned and walked away. I had what I needed. On the drive back, I wasn't angry. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't even hurt. I was focused. The next morning, I met with Lou in the back of a diner. He slid a folder across the table. "This is everything," he said. His emails, his calls, his work contacts. I also dug into his past. You were right. He's got skeletons. What kind? Financial mostly. 2 bankruptcies. A failed consulting business. He's been borrowing heavily the last 2 years. Quietly. If I had to guess, he's planning a run. A run? He's lining up cash. Offshore accounts. He might be planning to disappear. That made sense. If he was planning to take her, leave their old lives behind, they'd need money. Clean slates. A fresh start. I wasn't going to let that happen. Find out who handles his accounts, I said. I already did. Good. I need to make him look like a liability. Publicly. Loudly. Lou grinned. You really going for this, hey? I'm not just going for it, I said. I'm burning down the whole goddamn play. That afternoon, I reached out to an old friend named Carla. She used to work in local news before retiring. Still had contacts at a couple of regional outlets. I told her I had a lead on a financial scandal involving a business consultant with ties to law firms. I gave her Michael's name. She said she'd look into it. I knew she would. The best part? Michael didn't know I was behind any of it. He still thought I was clueless. He still thought I was the slow, soft, old man who played cards on Wednesdays and watched History Channel documentaries on Fridays. But I had become something else entirely. The following Thursday, while my wife was at yoga, I slipped into her closet. I wasn't looking for evidence. I was looking for patterns. In the back corner, behind a row of old sweaters, I found a hidden compartment in her shoe rack. A small velvet pouch. Inside, a key. It didn't belong to anything in the house. I took a photo and put it back exactly as I found it. I asked Lou to run the shape through his contacts. 2 days later, he called. It's for a storage unit, he said. Out by Route 9. Rented under the name with Sarah Elkins. That ring a bell? It did. That was her mother's maiden name. Clever. I drove out that night. Used the key. Unit 143. Smelled like cedar and dust. Inside were boxes. Letters. A few old photo albums. And a safe. I didn't touch it. Not yet. Instead, I placed a small listening device in the corner. Same kind Lou used back in the day. Motion activated, long battery life. Just to hear what she did when she came here. If she came here. Then I locked it up and left. The plan was unfolding perfectly. She still kissed me goodnight. Still laughed at my jokes. Still asked what I wanted for dinner. She had no idea the walls were closing in. And Michael? He was about to lose everything he thought he'd rebuilt. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't kill you. It carves you out. Hollows you. Leaves space for something else to grow. In my case, that something was precision. By the start of the next week, the seed I planted with Carla had started to sprout. She called me on a Monday morning, her voice low and excited. You were right, she said. Your guy Michael has more skeletons than a cemetery. I pulled court records, tax filings, and guess what? He had 2 lawsuits dismissed due to technicalities, and both involved shady consulting deals. One firm he advised got hit with a fine from the SEC. You want me to go public? I took a slow breath. Not yet. Let it simmer. Reach out to his current clients. Quietly. Ask for comments off the record. She laughed. You want panic before the explosion? Exactly. By Tuesday, I'd already started crafting the next phase. See, Michael didn't know how fragile his world really was. He thought because he was careful, secretive, and well-connected, he was safe. But what he didn't know was that I had a mole. Tracy, his daughter, had no idea she was helping me. But every time she posted a smiling photo with him on social media, every check-in, every casual comment like lunch with dad, she gave me data. I built a profile of their relationship, their habits, their patterns. Then I used it. On Thursday, I sent an anonymous tip to her clinic's HR department. Nothing dramatic. Just a question, are you aware that the father of one of your employees has ties to ongoing financial investigations involving multiple legal firms? That's all it took. I didn't want her fired. Not yet. I wanted pressure. I wanted confusion. I wanted her to call Michael in a panic, asking questions he couldn't answer. And I wanted Michael to panic, too. Because panic makes people sloppy. That night, I watched my wife type out a long text while sitting across from me on the couch. She smiled at her phone, then looked up at me and asked if I wanted dessert. I said sure. She brought me ice cream. Vanilla. My favorite. She had no idea that while she was feeding me dessert, I was dismantling her lover's life. Friday morning, Lou called. He's moving money. Fast. 2 new transfers in the last 48 hours. Both routed through small banks in the Cayman Islands. Can we block them? No, he said, but we can trace them. And make sure someone else sees the trail. Do it, I said. Send the trail to every firm he's ever worked with. Make it look like he's skipping town. Copy that. I hung up and went for a walk. The leaves were just starting to turn. Gold, red, and fire orange. The kind of day that makes you feel grateful to be alive. Or, in my case, grateful to be dangerous. Back home, I opened the safe in the storage unit. I'd made a wax imprint of the key earlier. Had a locksmith friend create a duplicate. My wife never suspected a thing. Inside the safe, a stack of old letters, many of them from Michael, dating back years. Photos of them together from trips I never knew about. A second phone, pay as you go. A folder marked future plans. I sat there, flipping through the papers. There were printed itineraries. Plane tickets. Real estate listings in Belize. Notes about cash withdrawals. She was planning to disappear with him. After 50 years, she was going to vanish with my best friend. I took photos of everything. Put everything back exactly how I found it. Locked it up. Left. When I got home, she was in the kitchen, humming. Good day, she asked. Great day, I said. That night, I uploaded the photos anonymously to Michael's ex-wife. She still lived in town. Still hated him. She would know what to do with that kind of poison. The next morning, my wife received a phone call. I watched her face change. She nodded a lot. Asked, "Are you sure, and when?" and then just said okay. She hung up, walked into the kitchen, and started pacing. I didn't ask. She didn't offer. By Monday, the news broke. A small piece, buried on page 6 of the business section. Consultant linked to prior financial misconduct, firms reviewing contracts. Michael's phone would be ringing off the hook. And mine? Mine was silent. Exactly how I liked it. They say silence is golden. But in my case, silence was strategy. After the article hit, I didn't say a word. Not to her. Not to Lou. Not to Carla. I waited. Because when you set fire to a man's house, the smartest move is to stand across the street and watch what burns. On Tuesday, she was quiet. More than usual. She overcooked dinner. Left her phone face down. Her smile was stiff. Forced. Something had changed. I could see it in her eyes. She was scared. Good. Wednesday, she left the house in a rush. Said she had a hair appointment. But she was dressed too formal. Tight black dress. Expensive heels. And no makeup. Just lipstick. I waited 5 minutes, then followed her. She didn't go to the salon. She drove straight to Michael's condo. I parked a block away, watched from the alley. She stood at his door for 10 minutes before he let her in. Even from a distance, I could see it, the tension in his shoulders, the way he didn't meet her eyes. They were arguing. Gesturing. She touched his chest, then pulled her hand away. It wasn't the reunion of lovers. It was damage control. I didn't need to listen. I already knew the script. She was asking if he knew about the article. He was lying. She was doubting him. He was getting angry. She was realizing, maybe for the first time, that he wasn't who she thought he was. Perfect. An hour later, she stormed out. No kiss goodbye. No smile. Just slammed the door behind her. She drove aimlessly for 20 minutes, then stopped at a grocery store. Sat in the parking lot. Just sat there. Hands on the steering wheel. Not moving. I didn't follow her home. I'd seen enough. That night, she didn't eat dinner. Said she wasn't hungry. Went to bed early. Face turned away from me. I laid there in the dark, listening to her breathe. Wondering what it felt like, to lie next to someone you planned to leave. To sleep beside a man you thought was too dumb to notice. I didn't sleep much. Thursday morning, I made a choice. It was time to open the second door. I called an old colleague from my engineering days. A tech guy. Quiet. Smart. Still owed me a favor. I need a secure line, I told him. Encrypted messages. Disposable accounts. You in trouble? He asked. Not me, I said. Someone else. Within a day, I had a new identity online. Emails, phone numbers, everything. I became a ghost. A ghost with a mission. I created a fake account and reached out to Michael's newest client, posing as a concerned attorney. Sent a message, you may want to reconsider your association with Mr. Alton. Multiple firms are reviewing his practices. Some are preparing lawsuits. No official charges yet, but they're coming. Quiet exits are easier than public scandals. Then I waited. Less than 48 hours later, Lou called. Michael's client dropped him. No explanation. Just terminated the contract and wiped his access. Good. But I wasn't done. Friday, I planted the final seed. I created an anonymous email and sent it to my wife. Inside were photos from the safe. Screenshots of her messages. A transcript of Michael's financial trail. No sender. No explanation. Just one line. He's not taking you anywhere. She opened the message while sitting in the living room, 10 feet from me. I watched her face as she scrolled. Watched her shoulders curl in. Watched her world collapse in her lap. She didn't say a word. She closed her laptop, stood up, and walked to the bathroom. I heard her throw up. And I just kept sipping my tea. That night, she didn't come to bed. Slept on the couch. Or pretended to. I didn't check. The next morning, I made pancakes. Her favorite. She didn't touch them. I'm going out for a while, she said, grabbing her keys. All right, I said. Drive safe. She didn't look back. I watched her drive off, then checked my phone. Lou had sent a new update. Michael's accounts were being investigated. IRS flagged one of his transfers. His daughter's clinic had suspended her pending a reputation audit. The storm had landed. But I wasn't smiling. Not yet. Because there was still one more piece left. She hadn't confessed. She hadn't begged. She hadn't said a single word to me. That meant she still believed she had control. And that? That wouldn't do. The hardest part about revenge isn't the planning. It's the waiting. By now, I had torn apart every corner of their little fantasy. The future they were building had crumbled. But she still hadn't broken. Still hadn't said a word to me. Not even a lie. Nothing. I needed to break that silence. Saturday evening, I invited our son, Nathan, over for dinner. Just him. No grandkids. No daughter-in-law. I told him I wanted to talk. He showed up with a six-pack and a smile, same as always. "You okay, Dad?" he asked, handing me a beer. "Yeah," I said. "Just figured it's time you knew a few things." He sat at the kitchen table. I didn't speak right away. I just slid a folder across to him. Photos. Documents. Screenshots. Copies of everything I had collected, except the worst of it. "What is this?" he asked. I didn't answer. I let him flip through the pages. His face changed with every turn. He looked up, jaw clenched. Is this real?" "Yes." His hands tightened around the folder. "For how long?" "A while." "Jesus, Dad." "She's not who we thought she was," I said quietly. He closed the folder. Didn't speak for a moment. Then, what do you want to do?" "I want her to know she's not fooling anyone. And I want her to understand what she's lost." He nodded. "I'm in." Simple as that. I hadn't planned to use him. He had his own life. But now he was part of it. Not because I asked, but because he saw it with his own eyes. Sunday morning, Nathan invited her to brunch. Said he missed her. She lit up like nothing had changed. Put on her pearls, the ones I gave her for our 30th anniversary. Smiled in the mirror. Wore lipstick for the first time in weeks. I watched her leave, then got in my car and drove across town. To Michael's apartment. He wasn't expecting me. He opened the door in sweatpants and a t-shirt, bags under his eyes. He looked older than I remembered. Worn down. He froze when he saw me. "Robert?" "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I'm here to finish this." He stepped aside. I walked in. The place was messy. Takeout boxes, empty bottles, papers all over the table. He sat down. Rubbed his temples. "She told you, didn't she?" "No," I said. "You did." He looked up, confused. "I didn't." "You told me when you looked at her like she was yours. When you kissed her neck behind that window. When you whispered to her like I hadn't spent 50 years building her life." He slumped back. "I didn't mean for it to happen." "You never do. Cowards never do." He flinched. But I wasn't done. "You thought I was weak. Old. Done. But I've watched you unravel, Michael. I've watched your clients drop you. Your daughter questioned at work. The media sniffing around." His face turned pale. "That was you. It was always me." He stood up, tried to speak. I raised a hand. "I'm not here to hear you beg. I'm not here for forgiveness. I'm here to give you one final gift." I pulled a flash drive from my coat pocket. Placed it on the table. "What's that?" "Proof that I could have ruined you completely. And didn't." He stared at it. "You walking away?" "No," I said. "I'm erasing you. She'll never trust you again. You'll never build another business again. But you'll be alive. Consider that mercy." Then I walked out. I didn't look back. That evening, she came home from brunch. Her eyes were puffy. Red. She walked in slowly. Quietly. "Can we talk?" she asked. I sat in my chair. Didn't answer. She sat across from me. "I know you know." I said nothing. I'm sorry. Still, I said nothing. I don't know how it happened. I didn't plan it. It just. You don't owe me excuses. She blinked. I owe you something. No, I said. You owe me everything. And you gave it to someone who never earned it. Tears started to fall. I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. Poured myself a drink. She followed. Can we fix this? No. But. I'm not asking you to leave. Yet. I'm just letting you know, there's nothing left to fix. Then I left the room. She stayed there, in silence, staring at the man she thought would never find the truth. She was wrong. And now, she had to live with it. I didn't throw her out. Not yet. She still lived in the house. Slept in the same bed. Cooked the same meals. But the silence between us had become a third presence in every room. Heavy. Breathing. She moved through the days like a ghost. Careful. Quiet. Waiting for the moment I'd tell her it was over. But I wasn't in a hurry. Ending things would be too kind. I wanted her to see the wreckage. I wanted her to feel it. Breathe it in. Monday morning, she went to her book club. Or so she said. I knew better. She wasn't meeting friends. She was going to her lawyer. Lou had someone watching her. She met with a man named Carlton Reed. Divorce attorney. Known for handling sensitive separations involving older couples. The kind of lawyer who smiles while slicing your throat with legal jargon. She was preparing her exit. And that was exactly what I wanted. That night, I asked her, "Did you have a nice time with the girls?" She blinked. Yeah. It was fine. You seemed distracted. Just tired. I nodded. Long day? She nodded back, slowly. Very. We sat in silence. She thought she was in control again. Planning a clean escape. A split of assets. Half the money. Maybe the house. Maybe more. But she didn't know what I had done last Friday. I had already moved half our joint accounts into a trust, one she couldn't touch. I had also legally transferred the house deed into my name only. Quietly. With help from Nathan and his contacts. Everything looked the same. But underneath? It was mine now. On Wednesday, she asked if I wanted to go away for the weekend. Just us, she said. One last time. I smiled. Sure. She wasn't trying to reconnect. She was trying to look reasonable, for the courts. A paper trail of effort. She was building a defense. And I was building a final act. Friday came fast. We packed light. Drove 2 hours north to a cabin we hadn't visited in years. It was our anniversary spot once. Before it all went wrong. She tried to make small talk. Laughed at my old jokes. Put her hand on my knee like she used to. But her eyes never met mine. She was acting. And not very well. We arrived just before sunset. The place hadn't changed. Still smelled of cedar and rain. We unpacked. Settled in. She cooked something simple. Tried to light candles. I want us to talk, she said after dinner. About what? Us. I let her speak. She went on about memories, regrets, time wasted. Said she'd made mistakes, but that we'd built a life worth saving. I loved you, she said. You did, I agreed. I still do. I looked at her. Long and cold. No, I said. You love who I was. The version of me that didn't know. She reached for my hand. I didn't move. You want forgiveness, I said. But you haven't earned it. I'm trying. No. You trying to keep something. That's not the same. She looked away. Eyes shining. I lost myself. He made me feel alive? I finished. Desired? Young? She nodded slowly. I stood and walked to the fireplace. Tossed another log on. You know what makes me feel alive? I said. She didn't answer. Watching you realize what you gave up. I let the silence stretch. Let the fire pop and crackle. Then I handed her an envelope. What's this? She asked. Read it. She opened it. Hands trembling. Inside, a copy of our financial restructuring. Trust documents. House deed. Power of attorney, signed over to Nathan. Her face drained. You planned all this? For months. She looked up. Her lip quivered. This isn't fair. Neither was 50 years erased from motel sheets. She stood suddenly. Angry. So that's it? You just going to destroy me? No, I said. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure you couldn't take anything else with you on the way down. She sat back down hard. Silent. That night, we didn't speak. She slept in the guest room. I sat by the fire, alone, watching the flames eat the wood slowly, piece by piece. I didn't feel peace. Not yet. But I was close. The morning after the cabin, she didn't say a word during the drive home. No music. No small talk. Just the sound of tires on old asphalt and a woman realizing the future she counted on no longer existed. When we pulled into the driveway, she opened her door and walked inside without looking back. I stayed in the car. Just sat there. Engine off. Watching the house we'd built together and thinking about how much of it was real. Nathan called me later that evening. She talked to me, he said. What did she say? She said she made a mistake. That she wants to rebuild. That maybe with time, things could be different. And what did you say? I told her I'm here for you. Not her. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Thanks, son. There was a pause. Dad, what's next? I'm not done yet. And I wasn't. Because while she'd lost everything she thought mattered, money, property, even the illusion of love, I still hadn't touched what she valued most. Her image. Not to the world, no. To the family. To the friends. To the people who still thought she was some sweet, graceful matriarch holding her family together with baked pies and old wisdom. That was the final piece. I spent the next 2 days gathering. Emails. Photos. Letters she'd written to Michael. Detailed ones. Explicit ones. Saved in her private email folder she didn't know I had access to. Memories she had tried to keep hidden from everyone but him. I packaged them all into a single PDF. Then I printed copies and sealed them in separate envelopes, one for each of the following. Her sister. Her best friend. A pastor. And one for our daughter. I didn't send them. Not yet. First, I wanted to give her a choice. That Friday, we sat at the dinner table again. Chicken, green beans, mashed potatoes. She'd made my favorite meal. Trying. Still trying. I waited until she finished eating. Then I placed the 4 envelopes on the table between us. Her eyes widened. She didn't reach for them. What is this? Insurance. Against what? Against lies. She swallowed hard. I haven't lied. Not lately. But it's not the present I'm worried about. It's the version of you that might crawl out when people start asking questions. I won't say anything. I know. Because if you do, these go out. She finally touched the top envelope. Her sister's name in clean black ink. You going to ruin me? No, I said. I'm going to contain you. Tears welled in her eyes again. But there was no apology. No denial. She was past that now. She nodded slowly. Okay. That night, she moved into the guest room permanently. We didn't speak again that weekend. I didn't expect we would. But I had one more thing left to do. Michael was still walking around. Not working. Not loved. Not trusted. But breathing. And I wasn't done with him. On Monday, I sent him a letter. Not an email. A real letter. Handwritten. No return address. Inside were just 4 words. You should confess. Soon. 3 days later, I received a voicemail. His voice. Broken. Robert. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I see her face every time I close my eyes. I know I should say something. I know. I just don't know how. I didn't respond. Let him rot. But that wasn't the point of the letter. It was what came next. Because 2 weeks later, our daughter, Emily, called me. Dad, she said. You got a minute? Of course. I talked to Mom. My heart froze. She said she made mistakes. That she hurt you. That she betrayed you. And that she's ashamed. I said nothing. She didn't tell me everything. But she said enough. She didn't lie? No, Emily said. Not this time. I exhaled. Not relief. Not forgiveness. Just release. The walls had finally closed in. There was nothing left for her to hide behind. No money, no man, no story. She was bare. Exactly how I wanted her. And still, I wasn't smiling. Because this wasn't about happiness. It was about clarity. And I had it now. The strange thing about silence is how loud it gets when there's nothing left to hide. For the first time in months, the house didn't feel like a battlefield. It felt like a tomb. No more whispers behind closed doors. No more lies in plain sight. Just quiet. Heavy and permanent. She moved like a prisoner now. Careful. Cautious. Like she knew one wrong word could trigger everything she feared. I didn't need to threaten her again. The envelopes were enough. They lived in her mind, even though they stayed locked in my drawer. She cooked. She cleaned. She asked about the weather. She asked about my back. I answered when I felt like it. But I didn't hate her. Not anymore. I'd moved past hate. Hate needs energy. Focus. Heart. What I felt now was colder. Emptier. Like standing in front of a house that used to be yours, watching someone else live there. That Friday, Nathan came over again. No beers this time. Just him and a manila folder. He handed it to me. What's this? I asked. Documents, he said. The final transfer. The last of the accounts. You clear. I opened it. Read through everything. He watched me the whole time. You okay, Dad? I'm tired. You look satisfied. Not yet, I said. One thing left. He didn't ask what. He knew. That night, I cooked dinner. I made her favorite. Salmon, roasted asparagus, lemon risotto. She walked in and stopped in the doorway, confused. I thought you were going to rest. I changed my mind. She sat down slowly. We ate in silence for a while. Then she said, "Thank you." I didn't answer. I know I can't fix this, she said. But I'm trying to be someone you don't have to hate. I looked at her for a long time. You already are. She nodded. There were tears, but she wiped them away fast. I just want you to know I'm sorry. Truly. I believe you. She looked up, surprised. I believe you sorry, I said. But that doesn't change anything. No, she whispered. I guess it doesn't. I stood and cleared the table. She stayed seated, eyes fixed on her empty plate. Then I went to my desk and pulled out a fifth envelope. The last one. No name on this one. Inside, a letter I had written the night after I caught her. The night this all began. My thoughts, raw and real, written in ink before I knew what the plan would become. I slid it across the table. She stared at it. What is it? Something you should read. But not now. When? When I'm gone. Her hands shook. You leaving? Yes. When? Tomorrow. She started to cry. Tried to speak. I didn't let her. I'm not divorcing you. I'm not destroying you. I'm just removing myself. Where will you go? I've already gone. And I had. Emotionally. Mentally. Spiritually. The man she married died in a motel parking lot months ago. What remained was just closure in human form. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in the living room, lights off, reading old photo albums. I watched her from the hallway. She touched each page like it hurt. Like it burned. I didn't interrupt. The next morning, I woke early. Packed a small bag. Just essentials. I left everything else. I didn't need the house. Didn't want the memories. She stood at the door when I came downstairs. Red eyes. Hair pulled back. No makeup. The woman I married, and the stranger she became, both standing in the same body. You really doing this, she said. Yes. She reached out to touch my arm. I stepped back. Not out of anger. Just finality. You don't have to go, she whispered. I already did. Then I walked out the front door. She didn't follow. Didn't call my name. Didn't beg. And that's how I knew it was truly over. The drive away from that house felt like a funeral and a rebirth all at once. I didn't cry. Didn't look in the rearview mirror. I just drove. And let silence become peace. I didn't go far. Just far enough. An old fishing cabin about 70 miles out, tucked between two lakes and a forest that swallowed all noise. I hadn't been there in decades. Not since the kids were little. Back then, we used to come here together. Now it was just me and the quiet. The air was colder up here. Cleaner, too. The kind of clean that makes you feel like the world forgot about you for a while. That was exactly what I needed. The first night alone, I didn't sleep much. My body still remembered her breathing. The way she rolled over. The way she sometimes talked in her sleep. It all haunted the silence. But by the third night, it was gone. I stopped hearing her voice in the stillness. I started hearing my own again. I chopped wood. Fixed up the roof. Cleaned out the old pantry. Cooked simple meals. Read books I'd left up here 30 years ago. Time slowed down. And in that stillness, I started to remember who I was before she rewrote my story. Not a husband. Not a victim. Just a man who built something real. And watched someone else burn it. A week passed. Then another. Then, on the 12th day, a letter arrived. No return address. No name. Just my name written in the handwriting I once memorized. I didn't open it right away. I let it sit on the table for 2 days. Watched it. Wondered what it could possibly say that I hadn't already lived. On the third day, I opened it. The words were long. Careful. The tone was full of grief. She said she read the letter I left for her. Said it broke her. Said it was more honest than anything she'd read in her life. She didn't beg me to come home. Didn't ask for forgiveness. She just said thank you. Thank you for the life. Thank you for the years. Thank you for making her realize too late what she destroyed. She ended it with 5 words. You were always the better man. I folded the letter. Didn't smile. Didn't cry. Just folded it and placed it in the fireplace. Watched it burn. The past belongs to fire. 2 more weeks passed. Nathan called once. You okay, Dad? I'm good, I said. You sure? Never been clearer. He didn't press. He knew. I didn't talk to anyone else. I didn't check the news. I didn't ask about Michael. I already knew what mattered. He lost everything. She lost more. And I? I gained something back. Me. I stayed at the cabin through the fall. The trees turned, then shed. The lake froze at the edges. The air got sharper. Sometimes I'd sit outside with a cup of coffee and stare out at the water. Not thinking. Just being. One morning, I pulled out the velvet box from my bag. The necklace. The one I bought to give her on our 50th anniversary. I held it in my palm. Felt the weight. Then I walked to the lake. Took a breath. And threw it as far as I could into the water. It sank fast. Didn't skip. Didn't float. Just disappeared. Like she did. Like we did. I stood there a while. Then turned and went back inside. No music played. No voice called my name. No shadow moved behind me. Only the wind. And the peace I finally earned.